At dinner, my wife sat across from me, her fingers absently tracing the rim of her wineglass. The restaurant was dimly lit, filled with soft murmurs of conversation and the occasional clink of silverware against porcelain. There was an uneasiness in the air, something intangible but pressing. She hadn't touched her meal, barely even looked at me. I could feel something coming, but I didn't know what. Then she finally spoke. "I'm leaving you." The words were quiet but sharp, slicing through the ambient noise like a knife. I blinked, certain I had misheard her. "What?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. She exhaled slowly, like she had been holding her breath. Her shoulders slumped, as if a great weight had been lifted just by saying it. "I've been thinking about this for a while," she continued, her tone more resolute now. I can't do this anymore. I need something different." The rest of the room blurred, fading into the background as my focus narrowed on her. I searched her face for any sign of hesitation, any indication that she didn't really mean what she was saying, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Is there someone else?" I asked, my throat tightening. She hesitated. It was only a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Before she could answer, the doorbell rang. The restaurant disappeared. 1 second, we were sitting at our table, the warm glow of candlelight flickering between us. The next, we were home. The abrupt shift made my stomach lurch. The familiar scent of our house, wood polish, and lingering traces of her perfume filled my nose. The soft hum of the refrigerator buzzed from the kitchen. Everything was just as it should have been, except for the fact that neither of us had moved. The doorbell rang again. My wife stiffened, her breath catching in her throat. Her hand clutched the edge of the table so tightly that her knuckles turned white. I turned to look at her. "Who is that?" I asked. She didn't respond. A cold sensation prickled at the back of my neck. Something was wrong, more wrong than just this sudden shift in location. The air felt heavier, like the whole house was holding its breath. The chime rang a third time, more insistent now. I stood up slowly. The chair scraped against the hardwood floor, the sound unnaturally loud in the silence. My wife reached out and grabbed my wrist, her grip tight, almost desperate. "Don't," she whispered. Her voice was barely audible, but the fear in it sent a chill through me. I had never seen her look like this before, like a trapped animal, wide-eyed and trembling. I gently pulled my hand free and took slow steps toward the door. With every step, the atmosphere seemed to thicken, pressing in around me. My pulse thudded in my ears. I reached for the handle, hesitated for just a moment, then pulled the door open. A man stood on the porch. He was tall and impeccably dressed in a dark suit that seemed too crisp, too perfect. His face was calm, his lips curved into a slight, polite smile. But his eyes were empty. Not dark, not hollow, just nothing. They absorbed the light instead of reflecting it. He looked past me, directly at my wife. "You didn't think you could just leave, did you?" Her breath hitched audibly. Behind me, I heard her chair scrape as she stumbled back. I turned to her, confused. "Who is he?" I demanded. She was shaking her head rapidly, murmuring under her breath. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. It wasn't supposed to happen yet." The man took a step forward. The lights in the house flickered. The temperature dropped. A deep, inescapable wrongness settled into my bones. "You made a deal," he said, his voice smooth, almost kind. "And deals must be honored." Terror flashed across her face. She turned to me, her eyes wild and desperate. "Please," she whispered. "Help me." But I didn't know how.